Hi, everybody. This is Jakub from qoliber again on another episode of Magento Extension Quality Podcast. Jisse, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Awesome, guys. Today we are starting talking about the actual code. So before that, we talk about the semantic versioning, about the composer, about general information regarding the extensions. Now let's deep dive into the code. So on the first part of this, let's discuss the templates. So Jisse, I'm passing the torch to you. What can you tell us about the templates? Why we believe it can be improved a little?
Yeah. So you said pass the torch for burning things down, or but yeah. So I think actually a lot of people will agree that a lot of templates out there, whether it's in the core or specific themes or specific extensions, they actually lack quality, and quality means. Worst cases like the object manager being in a PHTML template, but simply also a lot of large templates. And actually, let's focus maybe more upon the size of those templates, because the larger such a template becomes, the harder it will be for developers, for agencies to maintain those templates as well while modifying them. And I think actually that's the real issue that we would like to talk about. How large can templates become?
Well, to put it simply, they can be unlimited because of the PHTML template usage, which has been with us since Magento 1 days. We know that you can it's basically an executable PHP file. So if you want, you can put any PHP logic into the template file. It can be processing the request. It can be saving information to the database. It can be doing things with the session. So basically anything that you wishes to do, you can do it within a template. And we've seen this since Magento 1 days. And I'm afraid to say we also see this in a lot of extensions in Magento 2. So the business logic, the PHP code, like you mentioned, using the object manager, should be frowned upon, to be honest. But also the size of the templates, because if you look at the layout XML, you could say it's neat, right? Everything is divided into nice container and blocks, small sections of the code, maybe some view models now and there, and so on. But let's discuss the templates itself, because they tend to be quite large.
Yeah, and in the Magento Core, so either core modules or the Luma theme or the blank theme for that matter, there's plenty of templates that are smallish and okay, but actually I think this one is definitely one of the more familiar examples of product listing, but then actually also one of the worst examples regarding code. So if I scroll down all the way to the bottom, it's 165 lines of code. And I think actually maybe the person who came up with this found that all of the logic that you have here belongs together, because, well, you're creating a product listing. For other things like displaying specific details, maybe other logic is added. We can have the opportunity still of sub templates. But I would say that this is a bad example, simply because if people start to modify things, imagine actually that you want to just chuck in something on line 83, and that modification that you try to make is rather small theoretically, then you need to copy the entire template, create a template override, and that basically leads into the ownership of all of those 180 lines of code being in your hands. And then imagine that actually something smaller upgraded in the original template, that you need to go through all of the templates line by line. While the whole goal, that's basically what you mentioned earlier, Jakub, the whole goal of a template override or templates is actually that the template is for presentational purpose. And then actually in the XML layout, you can come up with as many templates that you would like. So that's the whole point, that we have a templating mechanism that allows us to create a lot of different blocks with a lot of different templates, instead of actually having huge templates.
And the huge templates also have like a different issue, and based on my experience, let's say that I have 4 extensions and all of them modify or change the template for in this case, list.html file. And we actually see a lot of extensions overwriting those huge templates. So they are not changing the logic to make it simpler, smoother, and easier to maintain. But if you run into like a third-party theme and you want to install additional modules which override the same templates, you'll actually end up doing a lot of manual work that could be really simply done using proper layout XML structure.
Yep.
Or sometimes actually you can use a layout observer or a plugin on a certain block to introduce some wrappers. So because the templates, it's just one part of the huge template system in Magento. So there are many ways you can customize it, like I mentioned, through plugins, through layout XML observers. But let's not even start on the price.phtml, right? Which I know nobody likes to work with.
Yeah, definitely. That's a worse example. And I think actually there's a lot of different strategies that could be used to create a clean templates instead. So one of the strategies could be splitting up an inline JavaScript from actually the HTML that uses it. Always make sure that you have two separate templates. In preparation of this podcast, we talked about ViewModels. So if you're not familiar with that, you should, because you're a Magento developer listening into this podcast. And basically, besides block classes, we also have ViewModel classes. And the more ViewModel classes that you have, the less logic is actually contained within the template. What I often see as well, and this has become actually, unfortunately, a practice between a lot of different agencies nowadays, is actually that a template is also being overwritten simply for the purpose of overriding a CSS class. So, for instance, in this case, I'm just demoing a little template that I created as part of my Loki Checkout. And here you can see a couple of classes that actually belong to Tailwind. Now, imagine actually that this is not the actual code that you would see in other extensions, but imagine that it's just a class is, and then all of the classes that are currently highlighted, and that you want to modify actually one of those classes out there, modifying theoretically rounded LG into rounded XS or whatever. Then you would need to copy the entire template just to make that tiny change. And for this purpose, I basically came up with a utility that is actually also open source. It's contained within a minuscule package called Loki CSS utils, and one of the utils is the one that you see here, CSS. It's basically a variable, a function, and you add in CSS classes, and what comes out are again CSS classes. But the magic here is that you could configure what happens to those CSS classes in multiple ways. First of all, in the XML layout, you can append something. So theoretically, if you say, okay, I want to have rounded XS, then you would go not into this HTML like I'm doing now, but you would go into the XML layout, append the value that you would like to have, and all of that could be made possible without actually any template overrides. And in a similar way, you could also use the same XML layout to override all of the existing classes. So going from Tailwind into Luma CSS, or going into Bootstrap or Foundation or Uno or whatever people are playing around with nowadays is theoretically possible if you would just come up with a better templating logic. So by introducing some kind of flexibility regarding CSS classes, like so. In the background, there's PHP, so I'm also dealing with PHP-based CSS parsers. So that theoretically, if the solution would be again a little bit like this, rounded LG and then rounded XS, in real life, you would actually would like to have rounded LG removed. Because actually the rounded XS is overriding also rounded LG. Well, this is still something in the works, but thanks to such a utility, thanks to a little bit of innovation on a level like this, we can actually make sure that templates are just created in a better way. The unfortunate thing is that the Magento Core, well, is beyond fixing, I was almost say. So this is also where different theme providers actually stepped up. But I think also in third-party extensions, things need to be improved dramatically as well, and that's kind of like the thing that we talk about. But simply because the Magento Core is dealing with templates in a bad way, it doesn't actually mean that we should follow. Let's not copy each other mistakes, but actually let's improve the work so that we get forward as a community. And on the level of templating, I definitely see a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, regarding the templates itself, you can also see this in third-party extensions. That, for example, a template actually uses a part of like view models or classes or objects from other modules, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you use a template regarding, in this case again, product listing.
Mm-hmm.
But in the template, you actually see variables and objects, let's say from the wish list, right? From third-party integration or from like an ERP object fetching something. So the templates are actually growing and growing instead of becoming shorter, much more universal.
Yeah.
And I believe that based on what you show, this Loki CSS, it means that you can make like CSS classes theme agnostic. Is that right? Am I
Yeah.
reading this right?
So that's a solution on the CSS level. But if you're also saying like, hey, code of the wishlist module is added to a template of the catalog module and so on, it also sounds to me that it's breaking the single responsibility of a certain template. And that solution is quite simple. Just break it up in smaller templates and
Yeah.
you should be done with it.
And actually do it through layout XML, right? Prepare the structure using
Yeah.
layout XML, and then you can inject any code, any templates into certain sections of the page. So I personally believe that if somebody is brave enough to create a whole new theme for Magento, with ability, with in mind to keep the templates small and modular, they should completely rewrite the whole layout XML first, plan all the structures, plan all the containers, and then introduce the templates. This is the way I would do it. But I don't know if there's anybody brave enough who has time actually to create this whole new complete layout XML structure.
Yeah. Well, a complete new XML layout structure is going to be heavy, but it's stupid that actually a long time ago I met up with Joach Verkatner, so one of the original founders of Varian, so Magento, and he told me that the exact goal of the XML layout was actually that people could throw out the CSS, could throw out the JavaScript, could throw out all of the PHTML templates, and actually just recreate everything in the XML layout from scratch to their own likings, proving that actually Magento was flexible enough. The stupid thing there was nobody actually ever did. So maybe this is a call out to the community, like, hey, who's up for an awesome Magento open source project to do this for real?
Yeah, that's true. But keeping the extensions in mind, because we talk about the extensions.
Sure.
Remember, keep your template files small. Don't try to overwrite all the key components of the layout XML structure. Do some magic using the layout XML, using the plugins, using Observer, so the modules can be more robust, more unique, and less work will be needed to adjust the modules to customize the template files than just like copy paste all the stuff from different modules just to create one huge 500 lines list PHTML file and 1000 lines price.phtml file. Because I actually saw back in Magento 1 days, I actually saw price PHTML that had 1000 lines of code due to some certain logic that could have been handled in Magento 1 with an observer, but they just pushed it to the template file.
Yeah.
So
as if they didn't know about the XML layout, right? So if you know about the XML layout that it allows you to chop things up in small pieces, why not use it?
Exactly, because that's the purpose of the layout XML, to be fully flexible. So if you're into the extension business, keep your template small, use the layout XML, because it will really make wonders for the development and for others. And again, I encourage everybody to join this podcast, to discuss things with us, to comment on leave some comments on LinkedIn. So Jisse, thanks again for being here with me.
Thank you.
So on the next episode, we will attack PHP code and the database probably, because I think that's that's we introduced the heavy stuff. So everybody, thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.
See you soon.
Thank you, Jisse.